Hi, welcome to Teachnology. This week's theme is the first few weeks of school. What you're going to find is a lot of great stuff that you can use in your classroom. If you're a member, you're going to find some awesome stuff. This week we have the Back to School Volume 3, which is just another 30 to 40 pages of just awesome things you can do with your students and will help you through your first couple of weeks of school. We're also featuring this week the September Monthly Helpers. September Monthly Helpers consist of one page per day throughout the entire month of September that you can use with students. It's great. Please give them a look. If you're not a member, please consider becoming one. It'll make your job a heck of a lot easier, especially in these first few weeks. This week's poll, we're asking you if you have been given adequate amount of prep time by your administration. So please let us know what you think on that. This week's tip basically consists of 10 back-to-school tips that everybody needs to just remember, and we kind of did this for ourselves because we tend to forget these things as well when we're in the classroom. The first is find your best route to work. Now that may seem pretty obvious. You may have been teaching in the same building for 15 years and think you have it, but give it a look. Sometimes you'll find you can save yourself 10, 15 minutes now over a year's time. That's a lot of time you can save, so just consider that. Number two is to make sure you have comfortable shoes. Now we always say, oh, I don't need shoes, I can just use what I had last year or use this pair or that pair. But just check them out, make sure they're comfy. Remember, we're on our feet a lot as teachers, so give that a look. Third thing to do is to stock up on your favorite things, whatever that be. I know with me it's grapes. When school year starts, I'm so tired I don't want to go to the store to pick up any, so I make sure I have plenty of grapes at the beginning of that first week to get me going. So please make sure you think about that. Tip number 4 is to get your supplies as early as possible. We all have been in a situation where sometimes we don't get what we need, and then we're scrambling trying to figure out how to make it up. If you get them early, you got them with you, you'll be in good shape. So get those supplies as early as possible. Tip number 5 is to check your room as soon as possible. Now, if you're new to the building, obviously you're going to want to do that as soon as possible. Even if you've been teaching for a while, don't wait till the week before. You never know. Sometimes I've had my whole room changed from one end of the building to the other and had to pretty much scramble to make it. So please make sure you check your room as soon as possible. Number 6 is to check what's going on in the community. Now remember, sometimes we aren't from the community of where our kids are, our students, so make sure you know what's going on there before you head into school. Sometimes there'll be different events that you can share with them, but there's also sometimes things that you need to know about. So please check with the community. The 7th thing is something that I kind of threw in there just because I need to remind myself this every year. Remember, whatever you're teaching, whether it's subject, grade level, whatever, you're going to be, in most cases, a good number of kids' only teacher at that position for their entire life. If you can remember back yourself, there are some key people in your life that you've had, and they've been teachers. So do the best we can. We have to remind ourselves that constantly. Tip number 8 is to eat often. A lot of times, because we're in a rush, that first couple of weeks actually, we only eat breakfast and dinner, and sometimes just dinner. We need to make sure we try to keep your blood sugar up, makes it a lot easier, make your day go a lot smoother. Tip number 9 is to learn your students' names as quick as possible. Now, I'll give you a couple of hints. You could take pictures of the students if you have a digital camera, and that helps out a lot. There are even some gradebook programs that include pictures now. If you haven't seen those, really neat. Another way to do it is to use a yearbook. If you have a yearbook handy or a class pictures, those are pretty handy, so please think about using that. Tip number 10 is to monitor both your keys and your ID badge if you have ID badges. Keys, please do not lose them. In older buildings, it can become an absolute nightmare trying to get a new key for yourself, again, in an older building. So make sure you watch those keys, make sure you watch those ID badges. It's very important you do that. Well, thank you so much for joining Teachnology once again this week. We're going to be back next week bringing you even greater stuff. Have a wonderful week. Make sure to check out our Back to School Center for some more ideas. And if you haven't become a member, consider being one. We'll see you again next week.